Welcome back. This is still TV3Newday, and ahead of the budget reading later today, we're expecting that it should happen in a few hours. We're here discussing what our expectations are, especially for you, our viewers, as well. Cost of living has become really high, and the question is, are there going to be the scrapping of some taxes? Will there be reintroduction of taxes? I mean, we're getting wind of the fact that, especially when it comes to road tolls, government will be heavy on that. As to whether they'll scrap it completely, we're yet to find out. And also, not just that, employment for young people is also a hot topic, and especially from the media budget review, where the finance minister made an announcement that there was going to be the introduction of the youth bank, and some 100,000 young people were going to receive some capital to start their businesses. The question has always been, when is the youth bank starting? What is the way forward? Especially after the finance minister also indicated that the government's payroll was full and young people should go into entrepreneurship. We'll go into that, but let me just give you some statistics from 2020. Now, the economy was projected to grow at 6.8%, then COVID set in, and so we had to revise our GDP to 0.9% and later to 1.9%. Now, the president, during the SONA address this year, indicated that at least we're doing better, and in fact, our economy was going to grow in the next 5 years. In fact, he mentioned that we were projected to grow by 5.7% as against IMF's projection of 3.2%. And he said that we are better managers of the economy and better protectors of the public purse. It was rehashed by the finance minister during the mid-year budget review, and he even talked about why we would not go to IMF, because he said that we have managed the economy much better than it was managed up to 2016. Months down the line, and Ghana Economic Outlook says that the National Accounts data revealed that the economy expanded at the fastest rate in over a year in the second quarter, amid quicker growth in both the services and agricultural sector. So although quarter two's results was bolstered by favorable base effects, quarter-on-quarter growth also indicated improving underlying momentum. And we could go on, and we're told that in 2022, the projected growth is expected to be about 5.1%. Let's have a conversation about this, also about the agric sector and the back and forth with the finance minister, the Agric Workers Union, the Peasant Farmers Association, all give an indication that prices of foodstuffs are going to go higher even in 2022. Agric Minister says, per the statistics available to him, that is not true, and in fact, we are encountering abundance. Where is the abundance? Joining me in the studios this morning, I have Mr. Edward Kariwe. He's the General Secretary of the Agric Workers Union. Has been very vocal about this particular issue in the last few months. Good morning, and thank you for joining us.
Yeah, good morning.
Also, we have Dr. Julius Carter. He's an economist, he's a consultant, and also a lecturer. Good morning, sir. And thank you for joining us. I'll start off with you. Your general overview of management of the economy, especially looking at what the finance minister said, what the president said, that they are better protectors of the public purse, and they've managed the economy much better even after COVID.
First of all, when we talk about protecting the public purse, it means that how you spend government money out of the revenue. That's where I'll take it from.
Okay.
All right. You generated a revenue and you want to spend the revenue. Autonomous government's expenditure has increased voluminously without production or without productivity, without agric sector increasing their productivity, without a service sector increasing their productivity. You want to marginalize the economy and say you are doing better. Is that not correct? So that we can have surplus.
Yeah.
The question is, if you take the budget for 2020, 2021, is there surplus in the budget?
No.
So if there's no surplus in the budget and we are in deficit, a huge deficit to GDP, and the borrowing is very high, and we are getting almost about 80% and above, and the benchmark for statistically showing that the international practice standards or the standard practice of economic stability and growth is saying that your debt to GDP should be 60. Are you really protecting the public purse? And these are very realistic issues. Now, this analysis I've made shortly is just a macroeconomic analysis, but I want to come down to the lay person the person walking at Agbogboshi, selling something, the person buying something at Agbogboshi or Madina Market or Ayikuma and all that, takes the energy of the price of fuel to determine the economy. And this is how we have been. So if government increases taxes on fuel, it means that government is getting more money in the fuel revenue.
Yeah.
Am I correct? But the one selling in the market, the relative price of commodity, consumption, what will enter the person's mouth daily, is very high. And that's what you refer to as cost of living.
Yeah.
Then it means that the person will realistically cry that fuel prices are high. If the management of the economy, the purse is protected well, the revenue that you generate, if you look at the bulk generation of oil revenue, which is about 1.something billion over and over for this year, and the citizenry of Ghana are still buying petrol as almost 6.9 to 7 cedis, then realistically, I feel that the economy is not managed well. Because if the economy is managed well, the difference in happiness, leisure, as well as business transactions will reflect. And we have a calculation, genome method of calculating the happiness and leisure of the people. So if people, I take 10 people, and the 10 people, among the 10, 8 is telling me, as an economist, that I take it from that to analyze at the micro level to be able to determine the macroeconomic level. Things may be rosy as they may see that the economy is growing at the rate. Don't forget, when we are distorting the figures, I always say that we have to be disciplined enough to tell the truth in measuring our figures. Statistically, when a president is going out of the country to talk at the international level, I expect prudent standard measure of figures. The metrology nature or the meta management nature of figures is confusing us as a country. Because if World Bank says that you may probably be doing well at 3.something, 3.2.
Yes, 3.2%.
And you come out to say you can do 5.2. It is a wrong measure.
How so?
Why? Because the international community, IMF, has their people on the ground calculating every step we take. So they know the realistic issues that are happening on the ground. Be them not being on the ground, they have information. That's why they have the embassies. They have the international organizations. They go to the markets. They go to tourism centers. They go to places which we as a Ghanaian, we don't go.
Cannot go, yes.
They go to Paga. They go to Kwalugu. They go to Nandom. You and I, throughout the whole year, we've not been there. They know how much is Pito on the ground. So when they are talking about figures, they are using accurate measures to give us the figures that we may be doing well at this point. But when we go and paint the picture that we will do well at this percentage, we are not telling the truth. And it is wrong. It is lack of indiscipline. It's indiscipline that is causing that. So we have to be critical as governance, as people in government, as people in government positions to tell the truth.
But when we ask them, they say that they have statistics that also reflect something totally different from actually what is happening on the ground. Does it mean they are not doing their work well?
I am here to teach and make sure people who listen to me understand that I'm teaching with standard. I am saying that the figures that we give into public, the figures should be tested.
Okay.
Because these figures, they are the variables that determine the turnaround of the economy. I'll give you an example.
Okay.
I was in the market to buy food. Salmon cut into pieces. One medium-sized salmon is 30 cedis. But when they cut it into pieces, one piece is 7 cedis. And that 7 cedis is equivalent to the price of petrol.
Yeah.
6.9 approximately
7.
is 7. So it tells me that the figure I got from the market woman and the petrol price is correct. Now, to determine whether that person who is going to buy the food can consume such an amount of food, and to consume an amount of food that will satisfy the person depending on the person's characteristics.
Yeah.
Your formation is different from mine. I'm 1.84 inches. I'm tall. I need a volume of food that can be able to hold me and give me energy, potential energy, kinetic energy, to be able to flow and talk like the way I'm talking. If I'm not able to calculate well and I eat below the standard, I may have malnutrition, and that will be a cause of my death. My blood will not flow well. So I am saying that the calculations that we give out, we have to test them well before we give them out.
Mr. Carey, I'll bring you in on this case because we're talking foodstuff in Agric. Because constantly, the Agric Workers Union, and you've been very vocal about it, I said it, you projected that food prices were going to go high maybe later even this year. Now, the Agric Minister and the Deputy, they all came out and said, in fact, the Agric Minister said that we're not facing food crisis, we're facing food shortage. And he was relating that to the president, saying that we are even producing more grains now. We had become a net exporter of food. In fact, 110 metric tons of grains were even produced at the beginning of the year. But you told him that this is absolutely wrong, and he questioned your legitimacy. I mean, when you see these things happen, and the fact that he's come out again and said that statistics show that things are totally different from what the Agric Workers Union is saying, you have said that he is not in touch with the reality on the ground. Is that true?
Certainly. You see, when we talk about better management of the economy, who is supposed to assess those who are managing the economy? Do they manage the economy for themselves? They manage the economy on behalf of the people and to satisfy the people. So go to the people. When the people say that the economy is better managed, then you can now come out and say that it is better managed. Why are they telling us that it is better managed? If you have proven yourself, your deeds will show. You don't need to, look, we can't reduce economic management to only figures and so on. And the figures should not be abstract. Figures are gotten from the ground. And when there's a difference between, or you have any doubt of figures, you go back to the source to correct that. So if you ask the people on the street, how do they respond to the economy? Do they say that the economy is better, their standard of living is better than before? You see, I think we need to appreciate that immediately you go into public office, you are there on behalf of the people. It does not mean that you now know more than everybody. You know, sometimes when you question legitimacy, there's nobody, absolutely nobody, can question our legitimacy. Because we are Ghanaians, to start with. We are living in this country, to start with. You can only question our ideas. When we say something that is not correct, you can question that, but not our legitimacy. And that is where we want them to come to. They should meet us on what we are saying and not who we are. In any case, whether I am elected by farmers, I represent this number of farmers, is neither here nor there. The question is that you are saying there's going to be bumper harvest.
Yeah.
What is your basis? We take you on your own information. You know, we have tried to, shy away from coming out with our own information because it will be a battle between their information and our information. To start with, we go and pick their own information and see that if A, B, C, D is happening, it will lead you to that end.
Yeah.
You know, the obvious figures and challenges cannot still make you to make that conclusion that you have a bumper harvest. Look, to say that prices are not rocketing and that his statistics are different, they can be different. Then you are not in touch with your people. If your statistics are different from those statistics in the market, then of course you have to come again. Because how do you come by your statistics? You should be humble to say that, look, I'll go back and check my statistics. All of us do research work in one way or the other. The mere fact that we are found in a civil society, in the trade unions, does not mean that we know nothing. because we all went to the same schools. We have all the
He says that they
training
have
and so
about
on.
4,000 extension workers all across the country, and so they are the ones who send direct information to the ministry. So they are basing their, their speech and all they're saying on what they are getting from these extension workers.
Yes. The same ministry and the same minister comes to tell us that they don't have enough research, extension officers. You know, it's not just about even having the human beings. It's also about whether those human beings are empowered to do the work that you are making them to do. We are all aware that public service workers are not well empowered in terms of resources, motivation, and so on. How many motorbikes have you given to them? How strong are they? Can they buy fuel? Is fuel available for them? Their motivation, other conditions of service, they don't have it. So the people are demotivated. And they are not everywhere. That is not also right. Because if you have 4,000, 4,000 cannot be everywhere in Ghana. So we don't also behave as if we are working with the extension officers. We work with them. We go to the villages. We do this. You know, so the mere fact that you have got extension officers does not mean that what we are saying is not true.
What is your assessment of planting for food and jobs, this policy? And we'll take it sector by sector. I'll come back to you, Doc. But I just want your assessment of planting for food and jobs, because they constantly tout it as the reason why we're experiencing bumper harvest and, cost of food is not as high as people are saying and all of that. What is your assessment?
Well, the planting for food and jobs has reached its limit. It needs to be audited. It needs to be reconstructed if we have to continue with the Planting for Food and Jobs program. I'm saying this because it is fraught with many challenges and it does not deliver on its objective.
What are these challenges?
Look, one, on 16th July 2021, front page graphic, the minister came to tell all of us that the Planting for Food and Jobs is struggling for survival. I felt so bad. What was the reason? Government had failed to pay fertilizer suppliers, and therefore they refused to supply fertilizer during the 2021 season. And you come to tell us to do what? Come to tell Ghanaians to do what? Go and solve the problem. Because you are the minister. You went and contracted the agreements with all these people, and you have not paid them. Go and pay them and make sure that the fertilizer is around. So I felt bad. And that was an admission that he could no longer do anything. And, when you're a public officer and you get to a point where you can no longer manage, then you don't have ideas to manage again.
Eventually, he said they pay the fertilizer suppliers.
Yes. But that is where the problem now is. They claim that they've eventually paid them and there was fertilizer. But being an agri-economist and being the one in charge of agriculture and doing agriculture all these years, he knows very well that you cannot just apply fertilizer anyhow. There's time for application of the fertilizer, and the fertilizer itself is aggregated or disaggregated, different types of fertilizer. You can't take one for the other. So once you miss the season to apply the fertilizer, even when you come to apply the fertilizer, it will be a waste because it will not yield, it will not lead to high yield.
Okay.
Yet you have incurred costs. You see, yet you have incurred costs. So for this year, we missed it. Per their own statistics and lack of fertilizer, and then later on they are telling the fertilizer came. It's not like this shirt, but sometimes you may even miss. If you have to wear this shirt for this program, and after that you now get the shirt, or it was not ready for you to wear it, then what is the use of it? That is what happened. So output this year is going to be low. So the minister to still proceed from that to say that we are going to have bumper harvest.
He said we should, by now we should have, because he said from November till February.
Yeah, so we're starting from there. To have bumper harvest is totally unacceptable. And it's very deceptive. Deceptive in the sense that you can look at the realities and still proceed to say that this is what we are going to have. What is bumper harvest? Unusual harvest. Now, statistically, in 2020, the minister claimed that maize production had gone up by 110% over 2019 production. Okay? Now, yet 2 months, 3 months after January, February, March, April, there was no maize. you are telling us that you are going to have bumper harvest this year. It means you are going to have unusual harvest far more than the 110%. Meanwhile, per your own statistics and the challenges you have, it is not going to yield to that. And that's where we challenge them. Again, on 15th, a day before the 16th July, on front page graphic, they said that 4 regions had been hit by what? Drought. Ashanti region was there, Bono Ahafo, and so on. And it will affect what? Food
production. Output. Yeah. Okay.
Now, fertilizer challenge here, drought here. If you put those things together, you come and say that you have what? Bumper harvest. Does it match? It doesn't match. It means you are going to have less than what you even had the previous year. So we expect the minister to tell us the truth that given these challenges, given the challenges we've had within the year, agricultural output will be far less than we had even last year. That is 2020. So all of us will be looking for the solutions. Because if we don't agree on the problem, well, what the minister is telling all of us, and this is very dangerous.
Okay.
It's very dangerous for all of us and the future of this country. Is
that what he's saying? There's bumper harvest?
That there's no problem at all with the Planting for Food and Jobs program. That's what he's simply putting it. That you are going to have bumper harvest is a problem. And if there's no problem, do you need to have solutions for no problems?
Okay, Mr. Carey, please hold on. Let's just hit the streets and find out what people have to say about the budget reading later today. And when we get back, we'll end on, the agri sector and move on to other sectors as well and have a conversation on those.
Reflect policies, bring up issues that will help a lot of the masses, and not just policies that will help a group of people. That's not what we expect.
The budget today, on the TDs, so my me chica, these are the boy, they are a ferry answer, the about TDs, so now my town.
Petro boy, the day, yeah, Juma, I don't have for made for a chica. Bibia moya den ko to dis about 23 for yam pon adwuma o man no moya den nti wode tene ma so mai ne hu de ekọ ne yesi hu se aba na to man no nya mfaso so
si a ne ma boa den do kro kra 2 cd ni ade the way dey we chen last year dey no we dey ni da so se den on fam bra ne hu ne clean.
It is that they reduce the prices of fuel so that it can help the church or drivers to also get something to feed their homes.
The budget no more your fashion work no money mamra from MIA because I have for no see bread and so money mamma from Kakramaye.
Who no a man and brat from FMIA. Yes, so Faso Benya, I was about to a Yakasa lie, Yajet to Abba, and it said, or better fool, so am I.
Yeah, me expecting it say, on better Tifu, no so. Na a driver for any passengers for no so, yeah, why then, yeah,
And those are views from some Ghanaians saying that they want a reduction in the prices of fuels, especially for drivers, and not just drivers, but also the passengers as well. We'll just quickly end on the issue of agric, and then I'll come to you, Doc. So what are your expectations? Because clearly you're saying that the posture of the agric minister is dangerous, to Ghanaians. Yeah. What are you expecting from the budget reading with regards to the agric sector?
I think that they are not going to do much because they listen to him. And it's unfortunate that they will do otherwise than what he's saying, because I believe they are believing in him and they think that he's in control of his sector and whatever he says is that. Otherwise, I think that one of the things we need to do to make sure that this budget takes account of how we are going to stop the smuggling of fertilizer. Okay. Because the ministry has given an indication to all of us that, in fact, there's so much fertilizer being smuggled out of this country. The budget must deal with that. Okay. 2, we also expect that the budget should increase funding to the agricultural sector because the agricultural sector is supposed to produce to feed the one district, one factory. Yeah. If that has to be done, then it needs to increase funding. And it should not be less than 10%, 12% of GDP. Okay. Should be... it
shouldn't be less than 10% of GDP?
It shouldn't be less than 10%. Okay. Of GDP to do that. And then finally, we also want them to ensure that there's market. You know, there's this post-harvest losses and how it occurs from the farm gate to the market center.
Yeah.
So much is lost. And we need to deal with that.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Let me bring Dr. Kata in. Earlier, one of our viewers was saying that we hope that they reduce the prices of fuel. So, I mean, whether we like it or not, the high cost of fuel affects everything from, you know, cost of living, basically. And they're saying that our salaries are the same, but fuel has gone up. It's affecting everything. What do you say about how we've handled the prices of fuel, even this year alone? Because this year we've had an increment of more than 5 times already up until this point.
5 times. The increment of petrol throughout the whole period up to now has been almost 16 times. You see, I told you that I'm here to teach.
Yeah.
The videos you have shown, 7 videos, 7 people have answered the question.
Yeah.
Okay, let me exponent 2 to 14. Let me expand it. So assuming we have 14 people answering this question of fuel, and 70% of that 14 people, 70% out of that, is saying that the prices of fuel is high. And at the back of their mind, they know that Ghana is drilling fuel. We are selling crude oil. So what happened to the charges they are putting on the fuel? That government will not subsidize. And previous governments in the past, we were not selling crude oil, but there was subsidy to cushion the system. I think there must be some consultancy back to where those systems were being used, those calculations were being used. Kosi Bujui is there, Honorable Kosi Bujui, Dr. Kosi Bujui, my learned colleague, is there. They should consult and see how they manage the subsidy, and then we'll move on from there. Far from that, when an economy is running into this type of agitations, it is not even good for governance to sit down and wait for changes to be made.
Okay.
Because it's a threat to national security.
How so?
Food is a threat to national security. So immediately 14 people started it, and I'm saying that 70% of them say, yes, the petrol prices are good. Government has the machinery to turn things around, hold some variables, and push certain variables to solve the problem, to let the relief come. When people have relief for 6 months, 3 months, then you can now say, okay, you've had this relief for some time, so this and that and that. If that is not done, and the price of the fuel is still increasing, relatively, people increase their food product, and people cannot buy, and then people will go hungry, and at the end of the day, people become poor in malnutrition and everything. And these are the things that kill the human being. Because if people cannot eat well, they can't walk, they can't do anything, they will shout. So we are not saying that government is not doing well. You could be doing well in some sectors, growth and all that. But the reflection of the growth in the livelihood of the people is important, and it's measurable. I'm very happy that my learned friend who analyzed the agri sector this thing was saying that what the minister said and came back to say another thing. It is the reflection of the measurement I'm talking about. If the food job for planting for food or whatever, it's not, the calculations are not working well. You reverse the calculation. Okay. We call something rework or trying to redo the calculation. So you call the stakeholders, explain it to them that, look, this thing is not going well. What is the thinking about it? Okay. You gather information, you come back to the drawing board, you say, hold on. Then you restructure the whole thing. Okay. And that is prudent management of a person put in position to manage an economy. Okay. But if the person is recalcitrant and still going into public to be saying wrong things at the wrong time, at the same time, it will plunge the country into undesirable situations where we will be having shortage of food, we have shortage of fuel, we have so many things will happen.
All right.
And when it gets to that stage, nobody can control it.
Doc, I'll let you hold on here because, again, my guest will stay on much longer as we discuss all issues concerning the economy even before the finance minister reads the 2022 budget statements. And so look forward to that. This is just a prelude to what you should expect. And Dr. Julius Atta will be here. He is an economist, a consultant, and also he is a lecturer. And he's very big on youth development. I would have loved to find out his views on youth unemployment in the country. But I'm sure that my other colleagues will ask those questions when it's time. Also, Mr. Edward Kariwe is the General Secretary of the Agric Workers Union. From 10 a.m. right here on TV3, we're discussing everything budget review. So please stay with us. Other team from the newsroom will take over and they'll get into the nitty-gritties of all these issues. Thank you so much for joining us on the show this morning.